It looked like somebody was bent over and had their head in the window of the deer blind, and it either heard me or smelt me, and he pulled his head out of the tent and stood straight up, and that shocked me. They don't make people that big.
The way it moved, almost as if it was gliding across the beach. I've never seen anything move like that in my life. They were screaming at each other in gibberish. It sounded like a language, and they were chuntering away back and forwards, back and forwards, back and forwards. I know what a bear looks like, and there is no way on this planet that what I saw were bears.
What are you reporting?
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
Dio!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
This is Mike Marois, and you're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you. We're going to be chatting with Jason. And I originally interviewed Jason, like a month ago. And it's when I lost everything. You know, the computer just crashed on me. And I was talking to Jason the other day, and I said, I really wish you'd come back on. Let me do another interview with you, man. I mean, it's one of these accounts to where you kind of get a sense of the creature's behavior. I think in every encounter, you get a sense of their behavior. But what's fascinating about Jason's account is he's out there in Minnesota, middle of nowhere, with a bunch of buddies. They do this trip every year. And Jason's a very experienced outdoorsman, hunter. He does it all. And when you hear this trip, you kind of get a sense about that. But when they were out there, a lot of things happened to where if you're into Bigfoot, you would go, oh, that's what that is. But these guys weren't into Bigfoot. They're hearing tree knocking and they're thinking some weirdo's out here chopping wood in the middle of the night. They just had a hard time making sense of what was going on until they ran into the creature. It's a fascinating account. Thank you again, Jason, for coming back. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. And I know towards the end of this month, all of you guys know who Tony Merkel is. He's on the confessionals, and I joke around on the show about, breaking his balls and that sort of thing. But, Tony and I are very, very close friends, and I think the world of him. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. And I know he's got this media, Merkel Media, and he's trying to get into doing different videos and that sort of thing. And he asked me, he said, if I came out there, could we shoot the area where you had your encounter? And I told him, yeah, absolutely, not a problem. So towards the end of the month, I'll be doing that. I'm kind of excited, a little nervous about going up there. I haven't been up there in a long, long time, but I'm excited about doing it. So look for that in the future. Let's jump into it tonight. I want to welcome Jason to the show. Jason, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. And I know that you're busy, and I appreciate you coming back, especially after I lost everything on my computer. But I was really fascinated with what happened to you guys that night. I know we're going back to 2002 in Minnesota. If you would just kind of start from the very beginning, what were you guys doing and what happened?
We took a trip every year and just went up into the Boundary Waters and did a camping trip. It's a pretty normal thing to do around here, camp in the Boundary Waters. And in going there, we tried to go to new places. It's a large area. You got a lot of places to go. And but on this specific year, it was a access that we had used before. Went into the access. It's not a real high. It's not a hard place to get into, but it takes a while to get into the place where we like to camp. It's got a couple portages, got a canoe across a couple lakes, and got to our camping spot the first night. And in that first night, we started to hear these like chopping noises. And I liken it to somebody chopping wood with an axe. And it carried on for a while that night. And it was something that came up in the night's conversation, because it was like, what the heck is that? Like, what is somebody doing at 10 o'clock at night just chopping wood? And you'd hear it in one spot, and then you'd hear it in another, so it was like a couple spots, and it was peculiar. We had never experienced anything like that, never seen anything like that. And so, it was peculiar enough for us to talk about it, but we tried to put logic to it and say, oh yeah, somebody's just chopping wood, And in that moment, we went to bed that night, got up the next morning, did what we do. We hunt, we fish, we swim, hang out, just, not do anything. And so that's what we did. We spent the whole day, didn't have any major issues. We're having a good time. And like some places that are a little further away off the beaten path, really didn't see a lot of people around. It's not uncommon to only see like maybe one other canoe going through the lake you're on. It's not uncommon to never see anybody too, And there's more busier places where you do see a lot of people, but we really hadn't seen many people. So we did our thing, caught some fish, cleaned them, fried fish that night, did the same thing as the night before, sat around the campfire and just, did our thing like we do all the time. And for the second night in a row, the second night we were there, second night in a row, boom, we start hearing this noise again. And I mean, it's just like, I don't know. The only way you can liken it is the sound of an axe hitting a tree. That's the best way for me to put it. That hollow thump. That's the best way for me to put it. And it would just be like boom, 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 and then nothing else. But it did it more than once that night again. After it had done that for a little bit, after we'd heard that noise, back behind us, and we're kind of camped out on a little peninsula. So we have, obviously everybody knows how a peninsula works. There's kind of lakeshore behind us because it's kind of a curved peninsula out into this little lake. And kind of behind us, we hear this huge splash just in the water. There's like a little like rock base behind us. Just a big splash. It sounded like somebody threw, a boulder in the water. And we're like, this is pitch black at night. We hadn't seen hardly any other people on this lake. That was very startling. And it caught our attention. And not long after we hear the splash, we just heard something coming, like something like getting thrown or a projectile coming through the trees, and it came down on the ground, not directly next to us, like not even in a dangerous spot, but away from us. It was just boom, thud right on the ground. And now, you're like, oh man, what is that? So, and then it happened again. Well, we got up and walked over and found these stones, and the stones were probably about, I don't know, this big. Not so big where, I couldn't carry it, but